Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, the UN accuses Congolese authorities of working with a militia group that's brutally targeted civilians in the volatile region of Kasai. And the mystery surrounding the death of the Bishop of Biafa continues to deepen. His car was found on a bridge along with a suicide note, but other clergymen are convinced the scene was staged and that he was assassinated. But first, the number of estimated victims of violence in DR Congo's volatile Kasai province may be as high as 3,300. The figure was released by the Catholic Church and eclipses the previous death toll of 400. Clashes between rebels and soldiers and attacks on civilians began after a traditional chief was killed in a military operation last August. His Cameroon Sapu fighters had earlier revolted against authorities. Around 1.3 million people have fled since because of the unrest. Tuesday also saw the UN call for an independent probe and accuse Kinshasa of backing another militia called the Bana Mura that's reportedly carried out brutal ethnic attacks against civilians in Kasai.
Refugees from multiple villages in the Cameroon territory indicated that the Banamura have in the past 2 months shot dead, hacked or burnt to death and mutilated hundreds of villages, as well as destroying entire villages. 42 mass graves have been documented by the Joint Human Rights Office in the Kasais. There may be many more, or there may be more. Several refugees have told my staff they were forced to bury victims in additional mass graves.
So a pretty grim account there from the UN. For more on what's happening in Kasai, I'm joined by Will Klaus. He's in Goma. Will, the situation regarding Kasai seems to be getting increasingly complicated. What do we know at this point about this new militia allegedly backing the government?
Well, there have been reports of activity by new groups in recent months, but the speech in Geneva today by the Human Rights Commissioner was a bombshell, especially the sickening details involved. The Congolese government has spent many months now talking about the barbarity of the anti-government militia, Kamwina and Sapu, which they call terrorists. But today the UN has told us that this new militia, backed by the government itself, has been committing these really sickening crimes. So now the government is in the difficult position of having the UN accuse it of both using indiscriminate force against the militia, many of whom are allegedly children, and as well as civilians, as well as supporting this new militia responsible for these atrocities.
So what has been Kinshasa's response to these allegations so far?
Well, the response to the call for an independent probe has been an unequivocal no. They say they will allow the UN to support a Congo-led inquest, but the idea of an independent inquest is an affront to the DRC's independence. But we'll see later this week if they will grant, if the Human Rights Council will grant this investigation. Now,
another development on Tuesday was that massive hike in the number of estimated deaths from the unrest in Kasai, 3,300 or thereabouts from a previous number of 400. Where is the Catholic Church getting its figures from?
So the Congo is a vast and poorly connected country, but the Catholic Church is one of the only organizations with a presence everywhere. So these figures are the result of reporting and research gathered by church figures within the diocese and archdiocese of the Kasai region. And they're going to be important because the Catholic Church is very respected, and about 40% of Congolese are Catholic, so these figures will carry weight.
Thanks very much. Will Klaus there for us on the developments in regarding unrest in the Kasai region of DR Congo. In other news, at least 15 people were killed in a suicide car bombing on a government building in Mogadishu on Tuesday. The headquarters of the Wadajir district were destroyed after explosives were smuggled in a milk delivery van. Most victims were civilians. Al-Shabaab extremists claimed responsibility for the blast. It comes less than a week after gunmen from the jihadist group opened fire on a restaurant in the capital, killing at least 31 people. An investigation is underway in Cameroon into the death of the Bishop of Bafia. Although at first it looked like he'd committed suicide, other clergymen and many of his congregation believed that he was assassinated. Our correspondents report.
Sealed off by the police since Bishop Jean-Marie Benoit disappeared on May 31st, it's as though time has stopped inside the office and private apartment where the Bishop of Bafia lodged, 120 kilometres from Yaoundé, the capital of Cameroon. Like worshippers of this parish, the former Vicar General doesn't believe it's a suicide case.
The bishop with whom I had dinner before he disappeared didn't come across as someone who was overwhelmed by some kind of angst, to the point of throwing himself into the water.
"I'm in the water," read the mysterious note found in the bishop's car parked on this bridge and discovered late last month. 2 days later, his body was found washed up in this village a few kilometres away.
We're here in the village called Chang. A Malian fisherman found the bishop's body behind this island. He went to the authorities to declare that he had found a body.
For the country's bishops, this is one death too many. In the last 20 years, several Catholic priests have died in suspicious circumstances, crimes that have never been solved. The bishops want light to be shed on what they say is another murder.
Because of the way in which the body was lying in the water, we know that the body was thrown into the water and that the bishop didn't drown. When there is an assassination, a suspicious death, as the forensic scientists have called it, the government must search for the truth. If they don't do anything, we can ask other authorities.
As the drama unfolds, the story continues to make headlines in the local press. The results of the investigation are highly anticipated, but authorities have given no indication when their findings into the disappearance will be made public.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now, but do remember, for more news and headlines from around the world, do check out our website, www.france24.com. Otherwise, if you can, join us again when we're next back on air. Take care.